Nobody knows how this Iranian thing is going to turn out. So you turn on the television and there's speculation and guessing, and all of that presents a big problem for the TV pundits. What are they going to say? They don't know what to say. So they fall back on the cliche, we'll see. Okay, well, we're not doing that here. Any television person getting paid good money to say, we'll see, they're insulting us. That's what they're doing. So that kind of blather is lazy and condescending. And we will never stoop to that. I will tell you, I don't know how this is going to turn out. It is a military action that did not have to happen. This is an option. And now we're going to walk through that option in the Talking Points memo. All right, there's a new poll, CNN, 1,004 adults nationwide. Now, adults means people who are not actively engaged in a political process. So registered voters, that's a step up from adults, and then likely voters is the top of the line. For whatever reason, CNN just said adults. Okay. Democrat 28, Republican 28, Independent 44. That's oversampling independents, but I don't have a problem with it. First question. What is your view of U.S. decision to take military action in Iran? Approve 41, disapprove 59. Democrats approve 18, disapprove 82. Standard issue there. Republicans approve 77, 5 points down from the Democratic disapproval number. Disapprove 23. So 5% of conservative traditional Republicans are isolationists. They don't want any part of this. Okay? Keep that in mind. It's important when you're evaluating this kind of a public opinion survey. Next question. Do you think the U.S. military action will make Iran more of a threat to the USA? 54%. Less of a threat? 28%. Now, how could it make it more of a threat? How is that possible? They've already pledged to kill all of us, and now their weapons have been degraded, so why would it make it more of a threat? This is what I mean. There's no logic in these answers at all. None. It's all emotion, emotion, emotion. Final question. Do you favor or oppose U.S. trying to overthrow the Iranian government? Favor 44, oppose 56. Why would you oppose that? Why would you oppose the United States helping to overthrow the Iranian government? They're killers. Why would you oppose it? This is, to me, I'm going, whoa, who are these people? And I'm going to tell you who they are. Unfortunately, we live in a world now where people can create their own existence. In a sense, they live in a bubble. They don't go out of the bubble. So in Hollywood, they're all lefties. Maybe in Idaho, they're all righties. They're on the social media. They don't go and get another opinion. They just hear their own stuff reinforced. That's what cable news does. Every single one of them. They live in a bubble. All right. Fact finding? Nah. Book reading is way down. They go into social media where there are no editors. Nothing is checked. Now, I get letters every single day. Mad, crazy stuff. Oh, I heard this. I heard that. A little skepticism, please. It's not hard to get information. You just Google whatever the subject is. And most of that information is okay. All right? But bubble people are taking over the world, not just the United States. So the truth is that since 1979, as I write in Confronting Evil, remember I got the Ayatollah Khomeini on the cover of that book with Putin and Hitler and Mao. And there's a reason he's there. Okay? Because since 1979, Iran has been in business to kill Jews and Americans and disrupt the world. That's a long, long time. And the worst damage they did was in the Iraq War, where 36,000 American casualties took place. 36,000, including 4,500 dead. All right. And then in Afghanistan, it was 23,000 U.S. casualties, 2,500 dead. And many of those casualties were roadside bombs, and those bombs were built by Iran. All right. Are we getting the picture here? So Iran has killed Americans. And then we had, of course, the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, totally financed and armed by Iran. 1,200 people killed, estimated 46 Americans in that 1,200 people dead. And then 12 Americans taken hostage. And this is all Iran. So the poll goes, you don't want the government overthrown there? What? I'm just pointing this out because it makes absolutely no sense at all. If you want to justify military action against Iran, all you do is point to what I just told you. All right? It is a terror state. And now it's being downgraded. Okay. The Biden administration did nothing. I had my staff research it. The Biden administration, according to a number of sources, we did the math, unfroze $16 billion in assets and gave it to Iran. $16 billion. Okay? Where'd that money go? Into nuclear program, ballistic missile program, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, terror groups. That's where it went. This is Biden. Biden do anything? No. Treaty after treaty after treaty, Iranians broke every single accord. And this goes back to 2009 with Barack Obama. You remember John Kerry was the big point man. You know, every single deal they broke. Every one. So it got to the point where President Trump had to bomb their nuclear facilities last June. I mean, this is historical facts. I'm giving you facts. I'm not saying we'll see. I'm not doing this mumbo jumbo. I'm giving you the facts. And these people are horrendous. And thank God 50 of them at least are dead. All right. Now, the administration obviously has to justify its cause to the American people, which is correct. I mean, they answered us, and we need to know why this is happening. Here's what Secretary of State Rubio said yesterday. Go.
The purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do, and have been trying to do for a very long time, is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind. Meaning, there would come a point where they have so many conventional missiles, so many drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. That is what they were trying to do, is put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they could inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program.
All right. What the Secretary of State will not say is that the timing of this synced up with the protests in Iran that we saw the last few weeks. Estimated 30,000 dead. I can't vouch for that number. Very hard to get an accurate number. There's no reporters in Iran. But they killed a lot of protesters, they the most. Okay. That's why Trump is saying, hey, we might have an opportunity here. If we downgrade their weapons, which is obviously what's happening now, maybe the Persians will rise up and throw them out, as they did with the Shah in 1979. If you really want to know about this, you read Confronting Evil. Okay. But most Americans don't want to know about it. They're too lazy to know about it. And I'm sorry to be supercilious here, but it's true. You hand them a map and say, where's Iran? They don't know. Okay, they don't know. And they don't care. And there are going to be painful things. I mean, you wake up this morning, stock market's down 1,200 points. I hope you didn't panic. Okay, that's all emotion, emotion, emotion. Oil will go up. You'll pay a little bit more at the pump. But this is temporary. You know, the government's setting us up the Trump administration for a long slog, I'm not so sure about that. All right, Iran's pretty much out of gas now. Their weaponry is pretty much done. They can't deliver it. 6 Americans killed, but that's not a lot of KIA in a big campaign like this. And I'm watching very closely. I don't see a lot of counterattacks going on. All right, so let's sum it up. The military action by the USA and Israel would not be taking place if the protests had not happened. I think that is absolutely true. President Trump didn't want the military action. I explained this to you earlier. I spoke with him on the phone for a good while, 3 weeks ago today, and he said, I want to make a deal. And I was a little skeptical about that, and I pointed out to him that Iran broke every deal with the Biden administration. Every single one they broke, all right? But Trump wanted to make a deal. Couldn't. They wouldn't agree. So time was right. And that's the memo. Over to Epstein. Now, the only reason I'm doing this story, and I explained this yesterday, is that it's such a farce now. And it's so obvious why the Democratic Party is pushing this so hard. The Americans need to know what the con is. They need to know that this is a grift, what is taking place here, and it hurts the country. So as you know, the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, were forced to testify in front of the House Oversight Committee last week. And here's what I said about it last night on News Nation. Hillary Clinton never should have been called. And that makes a farce set of our federal government to call the woman, whether you like her or not. She was Secretary of State, First Lady, put her in a position to try to embarrass her over nothing. I'm appalled that that happened. But to calling people to try to embarrass them, and it's fairly clear that President Trump did not have anything to do with Epstein after their falling out. Even Bill Clinton said that in his sworn statements. I mean, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? This is a pure smear Trump action. And it harms the country. So on Sunday, there was a column in the New York Post. I want to quote it, a little bit of it for you. It was written by Isaac Shore. And he said, opportunists of all political stripes are using any and every tool at their disposal to make hay out of them with no regard for the victims and their misdirection or the truth. Representatives Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna have become media darlings for their work on the Transparency Act, but their conduct has actually been unbefitting decent men, much less congressmen. The pair claimed to have discovered 6 men likely incriminated in Epstein's nefarious activities in unredacted files, and Khanna went so far as to name them on the House floor. It quickly turned out that 4 had no connection at all to Epstein, unquote. So this is a witch hunt. This is the French Revolution. This is the guillotine. This is destroying people without evidence. One thing you should know is that President Obama signed an executive order saying that if information would be harmful to the public or individuals, it could be classified by the president and the heads of the departments. Now, that executive order is still in play despite this Transparency Act. And that's why these some of the documents in the so-called Epstein files weren't put forth, because Attorney General Bondi, all right, classified them at the direction, I'm sure, of President Trump. And joining us now from Rochester, New York, is Isaac Shore. He's a senior editor at Mediaite. So has the tide turning against this witch hunt, this Epstein thing, do you think?
I mean, I would like to think so, Bill, but somehow I doubt it. I mean, as long as it is viewed as a weapon against Donald Trump specifically, you're going to see it remain in the news very much so. And I mean, look no further. You just referenced it. Last week, there was this whole controversy over these missing documents in the Epstein files. And it does appear that the Trump administration either deleted or never published them at all. You can, as you said, there might be some legal reason for that. You might question the strategic aim of that, because what happened is it blew up, and you have all these media outlets so excitedly parroting this allegation against the president and saying it's credible when it was really anything but. So I have my doubts that it's going to calm down anytime soon, even though it should.
Well, it's pretty shameful that the media is calling for unredacted files that are fantasy. For the pages that you were referring to is some woman who says that she was assaulted by Trump and Epstein. She doesn't know what state she was assaulted in. She doesn't know how she got to that state because she lives in the South. She says, well, I either got there by plane or car. You don't know how you got there? And then the woman herself was arrested on a variety of criminal charges, right? And you want to put out her statement, her accusations? That's defamation per se, and insane, is it not?
I mean, it absolutely is. I mean, and there's more where that came from. I mean, there's not even, like, as far as we know, Trump and Epstein hadn't even begun their friendship by this time, where this woman is claiming that, Epstein delivered her to Trump to be assaulted. We have no proof that they were even friends at that time. We have no proof that Epstein ever was on Hilton Head Island, where she said she begun her relationship with Epstein, I believe in the 1980s. So there's so much to pick apart about that. But what's amazing is all these outlets have taken the fact that there were these missing files, and they started calling the accusation credible without including any of this information.
And they never explain the classified nature of almost every government agency that has stuff that is unverified. They're not going to release to the public. And that's the moral thing to do. You don't destroy people, all right, with unfounded allegations. I mean, that's what I fear in this country, and I've seen this now over a 10-year period, is due process doesn't matter anymore. The press has destroyed due process in America. You're not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty if the press wants to put you in a headline.
I mean, that's absolutely true. And I mean, Trump has been one of the main targets of theirs, but I mean, there's been others. There have been anti-Israel obsessives who have used, Epstein's relationship with Ehud Barak, who was formerly the prime minister of Israel, actually a political rival of Benjamin Netanyahu. But, they've been insisting, because they were friends, that Epstein was actually a Mossad agent. You already talked about Massey and Khanna, who are just using the speech and debate clause on the House floor to smear people. But they're media darlings because they oppose Trump.
The irony is that
there's just so many examples.
The left condemns Joseph McCarthy in the 50s for labeling everybody a communist without any evidence. But, oh, that was horrible, but now we can do it. Last question. When you see a poll that CNN just put out, and most of the people in the poll say, no, we don't want the Iranian government overthrown. There's only one explanation in my mind, and that's stupidity for that kind of an opinion. Am I missing something?
I agree. I think there are principled reasons to oppose the administration's actions. I personally support them, but I can understand, principled reasons. We're concerned about the domino effect. We don't know. But to say that you don't want this regime to fall, I mean, I think, stupidity is one way to describe it. I mean, I also think there are a lot of people, unfortunately, in this country who share kind of this anti-American instinct and who are kind of prone to make heroes out of some of the worst regimes on earth, some of the worst people on earth, because they oppose America. I mean, I think we've seen plenty of that over the last few years, ever since October 7th. There's people out in the streets, on Ivy League campuses. Their disdain for Israel is oftentimes just a laundered anti-Americanism.
I think there's a strain of anti-Semitism in that poll, but not a lot. I just think it's ignorance. So Isaac, thanks very much. We appreciate the good work you're doing. And I hope we could talk. Final thought of the day, as you may know, I invited Donald Trump when he was a civilian to a dinner in Washington, D.C., sponsored by the Washington Correspondents Association, which is a charity. And that was in 2011. I sat right next to him. And Barack Obama was there, President Obama. Okay, I'll get to him in a moment. So I remember walking in with Trump, and Trump was a celebrity then, but nothing like now, of course. But he had criticized Obama, okay, publicly. And of course, the president did not like that very much. Roll tape.
Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
Now, Trump did not like that. Okay? I can tell you. I'm sitting right next to him. But he's going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner this year. Okay? He has boycotted them in his first term and last year, but he's going. There is not going to be a obnoxious comedian to come in down. The headliner is mentalist Oz Perlman. No idea. No idea who that is. Anyway, I'm going to go too. Independently of President Trump. Okay, I'm going to go because it's going to be an interesting dynamic there. Because Trump will give a speech. And so I'll be there April 25th, I believe it is. Yeah. So, and then I'll report back to you that Monday of exactly what happened. Isn't that interesting, though, huh? I'm not sure whether this is a good thing for President Trump. He obviously is expanding his, he's giving interviews to hostile people. He's taking their phone calls. CNN, which hates him, got through to him yesterday on Iran. I have to talk to him. I haven't talked to him in 3 weeks. The last conversation I had was about trying to get a deal with Iran. And it was 3 weeks ago today. So I got to talk to him about what his vision is for the media and why he's doing this correspondence thing in April. But that will be, I'm a journalist. I have to go where the action is, and I am going to go in that lion's den. I don't expect anybody to be untoward with me. They better not. I'll tell you right now. But with him, with his speech, there'll be a little drama. Okay. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this edition of the No Spin News. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again tomorrow. No tie today because I'm in Manhattan. We usually broadcast from Long Island, as you know. But I'm racing around. I'm doing 1,000 things. I should be retired, driving around in a golf cart. But I'm not. So anyway, I'm giving my neck a break because I'm going from one to the next to the next. And that's why I don't have a tie on. It's not that I ran out of ties. I got plenty of ties. And we're going to be on Cuomo on News Nation tonight with Stephen A., and that'll be a big Iran thing. And this story is now perking up in a lot of different ways. And President Trump, it's daring. That's the word. What he did was very daring, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So if you listen to ABC News World News Tonight, yesterday, David Muir is the anchor. And remember, I used to work there under Peter Jennings. If you watch the broadcast, 22 minutes you would think we were losing the Iran military situation. USA should surrender. We're losing, according to David Muir. And I'll prove it right now. So they did 13 minutes on ABC News out of 22 on the Iraq situation. Here's what the segments were. Number one, no plan to get Americans out of the Middle East. All right? That was their lead. Second segment, concern where there will be enough U.S. interceptors for missiles. Third, United Arab Emirates targeted by ballistic missiles from Iran. Fourth, Iran has 2,000 ballistic missiles. Fifth segment, rockets penetrated bases beyond Iran. Sixth segment, war expanding, Israeli troops moving into southern Lebanon to fight Hezbollah. No, of course, reporting on who's funding Hezbollah, and that would be Iran. Okay, next segment, Iranian proxies targeting U.S. bases in Iraq. Final segment, Strait of Hormuz essentially shut down by Iran. That was it. Every blanking segment negative. Every one. In addition, David Muir, the anchorman, said the word tonight more than 50 times in 22 minutes. Why I bring it up? Shows you he's not writing a script. He don't have anything to do with the script. Okay? And he should, the anchorman. Now, the others I didn't get a chance. I watched this personally. Okay, this isn't research from my staff. It was me. I was sitting there and I was appalled. Are you kidding me? Every segment, 8 anti-U.S. segments? What the deuce are you doing? No, well, we're there because of this reason, and there's deep unrest among the Persian people. None of that. No. Negative, 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 negative. And that seeps in to the public's consciousness. And then we have the boots on the ground. If I hear the boots on the ground said one more time, I'm going to take a boot and hit whoever said that over the head with it. It's infantry, ground troops, okay? It's not going to happen. The American people would never accept U.S. soldiers in Iran. That would make Iraq look like the one-day war. There are 90 million people, 200,000 Iranian soldiers. Not going to happen. But Senator Blumenthal, another Trump hater, oh no, roll that.
I just want to say I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground and that troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have.
But, you know, I'm fearful. I'm afraid. No one has proposed that. But I'm afraid it's going to happen. I just knocked the television broadcasters being too dumb to do their jobs. Blumenthal? What's the matter with you in Connecticut? What is the matter with you people up there? It's a beautiful state. All right, finally, I'm going to do this on my YouTube commentary. There are people in the United States in positions of power, Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy being number one, who are rooting against the United States in the Iran situation. Actually want us to lose. I'll prove it. And that's going to be on YouTube. So we'll give you the address a little later on. It's free. and that is the memo. So today in Iran, the U.S. submarine sunk an Iranian warship near Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. That's the first time since World War II that a U.S. submarine has torpedoed an enemy warship. It was the Dena, D-E-N-A, crew of 180, about 100 are dead. And some of them have been rescued. They're in the Sri Lanka hospital right now. Since this began on Saturday, more than 1,000 people are dead inside Iran. I think that's inaccurate. It's probably a little under. 50 people in Lebanon because Hezbollah, Iran's terrorist surrogate, attacked Israel and Israel fought back. 11 people in Israel have been killed and 6 American troops, as you know, in a screwed up thing in Kuwait. But overall, if you are a military historian, remember I wrote Killing Patton, Killing the Rising Sun, this response from Iran has been very weak, extremely weak. So I don't know why. I'm not privy to what their arsenal is, but I don't even think these people want to fight. I think they know it's over, but that's a guess. All right, Fox News poll, usually not a reliable poll, but this one sample is okay. Democrat 40, Republican 41, Independent 19. Do you approve or disapprove of the current U.S. military action against Iran? 50-50. Now remember, when this first came out, CNN dropped a poll that was 59-41, so you could see it tightening up. Okay, American public knows the evil of the mullahs. Second question, do you think Iran poses a national security threat to the USA? Yes, 61, no, 38. Finally, do you think President Trump's handling of relations with Iran has made the U.S. safer or less safe? Safer 29, less safe 51. No difference 19. I was on a Hannity radio show today, and we have posted it on BillO'Reilly.com. What more do you want Trump to do? He offered the mullahs, an amazing deal, just like he did with Maduro in Venezuela, and they turned it down. And the reason that the United States decided to launch now, didn't have to launch now, was because of the weakness, because of the rebellion inside Iran. And so they pinpointed maybe this is the time. Big risk, as I said, for President Trump. It's got to turn out America's way. And it is a big risk. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so our allies are looking away. I mean, it's not unusual. We have to do everything ourselves, all the heavy lifting. And Spain has told the Trump administration you can't land on Spanish air bases. Remember, Spain, part of NATO, don't pay their dues. Socialist country. And President Trump replied to Spain this way. Go.
Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. And as you know, they were the only country that in NATO would not agree to go up to 5%. I don't think they agreed to go up to anything. They wanted to keep it at 2%, and they don't pay the 2%. So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
And Spain is one of the few countries we have a trade surplus, but it's small ball. And as I said, Spain is a socialist country. Pedro Sanchez, the prime minister, and they're that's what they are. They're not involved with any kind of security for the EU. They don't really care about that. It's a giveaway state. I would have probably done the same thing. It's enough. Okay, let's go back home to the USA. So there's a loss in all of this. Was a very important House Oversight Committee hearing on Minnesota. And this is a story that needs to have some resolution. So you'll remember that 62 people have been arrested and charged. They've been convicted, 62 convicted, mostly Somalis, for stealing $9 billion in federal money. Well, how the hell could that happen? $9 billion is a lot of money. So the committee called the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, and the Attorney General Keith Ellison to testify. Joining us now from Washington is Congressman Pat Fallon from Texas, who is a member of the Oversight Committee. So what's the headline, Congressman, that you heard today?
Well, Bill, they weren't, they didn't want to take responsibility and they wanted to deflect, as I suspected they would. And the Democrats on the Oversight Committee just wanted to talk about Trump. They didn't want to talk about the issue at hand, which is there were largely in the Somali community billions of dollars that were stolen from the American taxpayer. And I want to give you an example with specificity, Bill, for your listeners and viewers. There was something called the Early Intensive Development and Behavioral Intervention. It was for kids with autism. And Medicaid billed out in 2018, $671,000 in Minnesota. 6 years later, they billed out $342 million, 500x. Now, you can't tell me that suddenly there was an explosion of autism in the state of Minnesota. Clearly, it was fraudulent. And these are the kinds of examples where, 300 million here, 200 million here, Bill, suddenly you've got billions.
Okay. So it's federal money that is involved, which is why you're involved. And the feds made the case. Walz had to know that there were problems in Minneapolis with the Somalis defrauding the federal government. Would that be a fair statement? He had to know that?
He had to know that. And in fact, we don't have to just go based on, assertions or speculation. We have, Bill, when we do an investigation in the Oversight Committee, we're lucky if we get one or two whistleblowers because it's difficult for them. They face, punishment and ostracized and all that. There are 30 people that work in Minnesota in his administration that have been working with us on the Oversight Committee. That is an astonishing number. That's how bad it was. Everybody knew what was going on, and the Walz administration looked the other way because they wanted those 30 or 40,000 block Somali votes.
Okay, so it was politics. Now, Governor Walz, did he admit any kind of incompetence here? I know he didn't admit any wrongdoing, but how about saying, gee, I wish I had done a better job? Did he do that?
No, he said he was, he was educated. He wasn't being straight in simply saying, this happened on my watch. I'm going to take responsibility. I want to fix it. This is exceptionally bad. This is epic fraud. It's historic. And instead, he was trying to just obfuscate. And that's just not going to, it's not going to pass the smell test here.
What was his main excuse for not taking action to stop this or alerting the FBI what was going on?
Well, he said that they did, prosecute some folks. And as you mentioned, there were 98 people that have been charged thus far, and 85 of them happen to have been of Somali descent. And there's been 62 convictions. So he's pointing to that and saying, see, we've convicted some people. But it's like, Governor, this shouldn't have happened in the first place. This is after the fact. And the only reason why you were really taking this seriously is because of the whistleblowers and because of journalists like Nick Shirley that exposed it. So they're not sad it happened, Bill. They're just sad they got caught.
And the Attorney General, Ellison, did he have the same thing going, well, we were on it? Because in order to accumulate a $9 billion theft, that takes a while. That's not just 2 months. That's years and years and years of stealing money from the federal government.
They've got Ellison on tape conspiring with these folks, because at the end of the day, this is one of the things I told Walz. I said, well, there's one of two possibilities here. This is either you are in on it or you're too stupid to catch it. There's just no other. It's epic incompetence or it's, historic stupidity. And which one is it, Governor? And then he says, habada, habada, habada. He talks like Charlie Brown's teacher. He doesn't complete his sentences. He doesn't conjugate his verbs because he was caught red-handed and he has no excuse. And Bill, incidentally, I did ask him, you announced that you were running for re-election in September because of your, all the success you've had. And then 3.5 months later, you're out. Why? And then he said, well, I talked to my family, blah, blah, blah. But it was because you got caught and you were going to lose the general election. That's how bad this is.
Is Ellison just a flunky?
Yeah, well, Ellison, he is smug. He's arrogant. He knows what he represents the state of Minnesota. They have a perpetual Democratic majority, and he just really doesn't care.
All right. Your peers on the committee, you said it was all about Trump. Are they blaming Trump for the Somali theft in Minnesota? Is that what they're trying to do?
No, the Democrats didn't talk about the Somali theft in Minnesota. They talked about Donald Trump pardoning. They always deny, counter accuse, deflect. When we talk about the issue at hand, they say we shouldn't be talking about this issue because it's really not a big deal. We should be talking about their agenda. And the fact of the matter is, in 2024, as you know, the American people said, no, we don't want your woke agenda. We want you to actually govern like adults. So that's why we're still in charge.
All right. So no Democrats stepped up and asked any tough questions in the hearing today?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right, Congressman, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we hope we can talk again soon. Final thought of the day. I am not going to be here tomorrow because I will be in Boston. Now, I told you at the top of the show I didn't have a tie because I'm running around Manhattan today. Tomorrow morning I got to go up to Boston. The reason I'm moving around so much is that we are working on a bunch of new things for the No Spin News. Some of them will be what they call long form, longer, with interviews with very interesting people, stuff like that. We'll have an announcement about what we're going to do, but I'm the guy and I got to move it. So tomorrow, and I will report Monday, it's going to be wild tomorrow. I can't tell you now what I'm going to do, but it's going to be wild. Anyway, there is a new study from Edison Research that says so-called podcasts, and I'm not going to use that term here, okay? People say, oh, I love your podcast. I don't do a podcast. We do a broadcast. The difference is we're fact-based. We're not just hanging around shooting the you-know-what. Okay, and that'll hold on the long form. So anyway, for the first time ever, podcasts are more sampled by the American people than AM and FM radio talk. Okay? 40% of time spent in spoken word audio is dedicated to podcasts, 39% to radio. And in 2015, it was 75% were listening to radio and only 10%. So you can see how this podcast thing is overwhelming. And we got to get in on that to some extent, but I'm going to make it different because I'm not a big fan of 2-hour bull sessions. I think that just wastes your time. Anyway, we'll have a lot of clarity on this. We thank you very much for watching and listening to the No Spin News. Want to reach me, it's bill@BillO'Reilly.com, bill@BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. We will see you again on Monday, new column on Sunday.